would call the meeting to order and do a roll call. However, I want to say for the record that the person that's present for the committee is Mr. Tom Norman.
My appointee.
That's right, our city manager's appointee. And we do have guests in attendance. We have our city manager, Kathy Swanson-Rivenbark. We have Miss Maria Higgins-Fallon, and we also have Ernesto Pino from Public Works. So they will be here presenting and giving information that was requested of the committee at our prior meeting on April the 11th. So I won't even go through the approval of the minutes because I'll wait till we have a quorum the next time we have a meeting. So we'll just jump right into the actual presentations. So we can be as casual as you would like, Ms. MR, and for you to start with the citywide communication efforts.
And before she begins, because this is taped, any of the members that wish that they could review the tape before we move forward on a future meeting, we'll make that tape available to them.
Yes, ma'am.
So I had made a presentation, I believe in the March meeting, where I went through the whole package of information of what we had done in the 2007 hurricane season. I believe your committee wanted to ask more information about what we're going to be doing for this hurricane season. We're like just about a month away. So I have prepared this, and I'll give you a copy of and I updated the information of what we did in 2017 and what we are planning to do, in the upcoming season of 2018. So I had actually video produced just out of the press that I reviewed yesterday. It's a 7-minute video. We can leave it for you to watch at your leisure. I don't know if you want to, but it is Weathering the Storm. That is what we're going to be starting to push out through our Corregos TV, through our Facebook, through our Twitter. And it's a 7-minute video of what the city does before, during, and after, and what the citizens need to do in order to be prepared. So that is part of our campaign. This year we are being very aggressive in trying to educate the public. We have developed a Gable Strong campaign, which is information that we're pushing out throughout the hurricane season from June to the end of November. So,
could I ask on the video, where are you going to put that out?
It's going to be put in the Corregos TV, on corregos.com. We're going to post it on Facebook and on Twitter. So in all our social media, obviously on Channel 77. So it's going to be constantly on rotation. We have it ready, correct, Alejandro? So if you'd like to see it, it's a 7-minute video. You're more than happy to watch it now or later, or
yeah, if you a link.
Do you want to see it now?
That'd be great. Maybe at the end if we
okay.
have.
Okay. So this communication is a good piece to have Tom here, because when I reached out to him on would you be thinking about how we can do better, some of it was, having just experienced Irma, some of the communication pieces that he was attentive to. So now you get your own personal briefing.
Yeah, no, that's great.
yes.
That's great.
So in addition to that, we have created, and this is also hot off the press, this is actually going to be an insert that is going to be part of the Living in the City Beautiful magazine. So this is a full-back insert. I've made additional copies so that everybody has that.
Yeah,
it is a special Coral Gables hurricane. I'm sorry?
No, if you could just give me enough copies, because I do send a packet out to the communities who aren't present.
I have plenty of them. I just put them out yesterday because they actually came before the magazine. So this is going to be in the city, Living in the City Beautiful magazine. This magazine is right now at the printer. It's between the printer and the mail house, and every household in the city of Coral Gables is going to have this information in their hands.
Whether you rent or own, and it's addressed residents. So if there's a new family there, it will be going to that mailbox.
So this is how we're preparing for this hurricane season. Obviously, it's going to be in everyone's home. Right before the hurricane, and he talked a little bit about what we went through with Hurricane Irma, and there is a lot of information how everybody needs to know to be ready for hurricane season. What you do before the storm, what you do during the storm, what you do after a storm. There's a lot of information for the residents to know that they need to help us to help you. They need to take certain ownership, and part of the radio campaign that we're doing in Gable Strong is for the residents to take ownership, that they need to be prepared to be on their own for the next 72 hours, and for the residents to be connected to us. There is an entire list at the back of how to find us, what they need to download to get the emergency information, and there's even a little survey that we want, especially the vulnerable population, because that was one of the areas that you all talked about. How do we reach the vulnerable population, whether they're elderly or whether they're residents with special needs? We want them to tell us how they are getting connected to us so that we could target those messages to those areas. But I also want them to tell us if they want to have a wellness check from the city of Coral Gables, because that's the population that we need to take care of based on our experiences from last year. When the power goes out, residents sort of kind of know how to handle it and how they need to be prepared for the 72 hours. But the elderly that maybe are living alone, that maybe the ones that have special needs, are the ones that need special attention. So we are going the extra, we're taking the extra care for them to let us know who they are and for us to communicate with them better. So I think those were sort of the takeaways from last year, and there were some of the concerns that you had in your previous.
This to me is key, trying to find out how the residents get their information.
Correct.
So what happens if we send this out and you're getting very little response to this? How can we go solicit that information other ways?
So the next step that we're going to do it, we're already in the process, is that the Adult Activity Center has a direct reach to the elderly population. I'm trying to get that information, what kind of database they have, whether it's a mail, whether it's electronic. There's different kinds of, when the elderly get information, there's the young elderly who are still techie savvy, so we can still reach them through an news or through Facebook, but then there are the old school elderly that want to get that information through the mail. So I need to find out, first of all, if this hasn't come out yet, how much do I get on this? And if that doesn't work, I still have another couple of weeks before the real intense hurricane season begins to find out where is it that I need to reach out to them.
Now, one thing that I'm very excited about is, so everything that was going out on Facebook, on Twitter, on e-news, if you're like my mom and she doesn't do computer, is what she tells, that they can have that pre-recorded message of, they can call us to get it, so we're getting that information out. Great number, 305-800-NEWS, and it's only for the Coral Gables update. Our 24-hour call line will still be happening pre-storm, during storm, post-storm, run by city employees, takes the pressure off of the 911 operators. But the other piece of this is we do not have, Dade County cannot give us a mailing list for all residents over 65 or 80 or whatever that period is. But you know what we can do? We can get voter registration by age, and so another directed mailing that we could do for the seniors, maybe even though not everybody is registered to vote, we can at least get by age, by address, that list.
You just have to search that.
You have to sit up at the table. So, no. Come sit at the table. We have plenty of seats.
One other thing we looked at, and this is Stephanie Throckmorton, by the way.
Thank you.
One of the other things we looked at last year was the official Dade County Vulnerable Populations registration list.
Which we have with Parks and Recreation.
And there is a deadline for that.
Yes,
so one thing we might want to push out is the deadline for registration.
It's actually one of the things that we highlighted here, if I can find it. Because that's important.
Yeah, I know that's for evacuation and
it's
stuff.
It's called the Miami-Dade County's Emergency and Evacuation Assistance Program, and they don't have, and they have, there's a deadline, and they cannot call us like the day before when an evacuation.
Yeah.
This is registering for a special needs shelter,
yes.
right?
So
or a special evacuation.
Special evacuation, and also the population that needs to be transported and they need to go to the hospital because they need to have
oxygen
power.
dependent or something like that.
So
but to the extent that there's a hard deadline, maybe we can push that out too, because I know it's much earlier than you think it is.
We usually refer them to the website and to the 311 because that's a county managed, so sometimes they change deadlines, so we want to give them ownership of that information.
So we can send to the voters registration list. I mean, some people's special needs are not by age, but by stage, by condition, right? But at least we can send out a directed mailer, page, letter, 10 envelope, that would be, what age should it be? So over 70, over 75?
The Miami-Dade County Evacuation Assistance Program has very specific requirements. It's not just age, it's oxygen dependent,
Right.
insulin dependent.
I won't be able to have that
Yeah.
list. So I'm trying to at least supplement the outreach that we're already doing. We will not have a list of everyone on oxygen now. If
No.
we get the list from fire, we get the list from parks. But if we wanted to say, are we really getting the list from everyone? We might want to, the best shot is by age.
There's a couple of things that we also added for this year. Obviously, we want to reach out to the population that doesn't have power, which could be a lot of us. So when there is no electricity and when there's no Facebook and a computer, that we have this year a partnership with WLRN 91.3. It's a media buy that we're doing from June through September. Here is a draft, also hot off the press, that I've been working to try to come up with different, different things for each week, and it is going to include general information. We're buying spots in WLRN, but they're also having a partnership with us because they do a lot of editorial announcements, so that when we have an emergency announcement, let's say that we get a Hurricane 4 and a Hurricane 5, then we have to come up with an intensive campaign, and then we want to reach out to people. If you don't have power, you still can reach to us with a battery operated radio, and you need to listen to the City of Coral Gables at the announcement of the hour, whatever that announcement is going to be. So that's how we're going to communicate when there's no power. And we're going to say every month, every day at 12 or at 1 or 2, we're going to have a special information for our Coral Gables residents on this is what you need to do, whether it is run for the hills or get water or whatever that message is. That's how we're going to communicate.
Any campaign to put feet on the street to get information out?
Okay, so is this the where you talked about the boots on the ground?
Yes.
So we talked about it at the emergency management meeting that we had last week, because I saw the tape that you had, and then I heard the idea of having boots on the ground. So there's a couple of things that we need to be very clear so that we manage our expectations. We have 13,000 plus households. We have about 1,000 employees who are more or less full-time and part-time. So we need to concentrate in communicating the message the most effective way that we can. There's a couple of ideas that we've discussed, but they're not concrete right now, and how to use maybe certain advisory groups.
So we have an emergency management committee. Each commissioner is allowed to appoint either 5 or 7 people to that committee. So that itself is a committee that is not called on to assist during the year. This would be a great opportunity for them. We also talked about the homeowners associations. There are homeowners associations, particularly south of Sunset, that have by email, by direct contact, that they can give the word when there are specific messaging or specific directives that need to follow. So shifting that universe, working also with the schools, churches, and synagogues, houses of faith on that. But to think that the city employee, we have neighborhood safety aides, they could assist, we have different groups that could assist, but to think that we could put a placard on everybody's home, separate from working through the HOAs, separate from working on community service hours with high schools, they all have community service obligations. We can put like a volunteer initiative forward. When people call us to say, how can I help? Right. We can say, deliver these in your neighborhood. And we've done that before when people called to say, how can we help? Like even the Eagle Scouts, where the Boy Scouts have called, and we say, knock on your neighbors' doors, work your neighborhood, make sure everybody is okay. And
do we have a neighborhood watch program?
We have Crime Watch. It's developing. I wouldn't say that every area has a formed committee, but we do have a citywide crime watch and some individual active crime watch committees.
that might be another opportunity to get the information. I would never expect city employees or anybody else to go around and hang door tags on all of our residences, but if you have some pre-established communication network where you're, it's a pyramid type of thing, where you're starting out with a couple of core people, maybe these groups that you mentioned, and they're disseminating the information, I think is great. I think we just have to be prepared for at least the initial recovery after a hurricane, when we don't have electronic means of communication.
Right. So the houses of faith, I remember with Andrew that they were helpful too, because it wasn't just their congregation, it was the neighborhood around, and they, so that is an informal emergency network that could help get the word out through the homeowners associations and through the I think it might be interesting for emergency management committee because I don't think we ask them all year long to do anything, that we might convene them and assign them.
Right. Yeah, that's a great idea. Now, at one point, the city used to put out these refrigerator magnets and had a list of all the kind of emergency contacts or department contacts. I don't know if we still do that or not, but the information you had here,
Refrigerator magnet.
if that were in magnet, that to me is really important. And I don't, even in Andrew, we set up an emergency hotline. We set up an FPL emergency hotline just for Coral Gables residents.
So Tom Norman worked EOC with us as FPL during Andrew. That's how
many
Phil.
years ago. Yeah, but so having that information available at the time of a hurricane, they might get this and end up, great information. Maybe they send this back, but this might get pitched by the time of a hurricane. So if there's some way of making sure that that there's a lead behind something that they're going to be willing to retain, I think that's going to be beneficial too.
And then the other thing that we added this year that is different from last year, we have a new, and Kathy mentioned, the new 305-800 news, and that is going to be our pre-recorded landline where we're going to be putting out messages, so to try to manage the call volume that the additional 5401 phone does. So those are just new additional initiatives that we're doing just because of what we learned on 2017. Hopefully we won't get to use in 2018, but we're ready to face whatever storm comes our way.
So when somebody calls that hotline, they're getting somebody at a Coral Gables facility?
The 5401?
Yes, ma'am.
When it gets activated. So that line will be activated, and that has actually people that answer.
That's our city employees.
That's our city's employees.
24 hours a day.
24, yeah.
And so they're getting the latest updates daily or something like that?
Or they're getting better, because the 800 news is that pre-recorded messages. She's pushing something out on Twitter or Facebook or the social media networks. She's having condensed similar messages in that pre-recorded. On 5401, are they going to pick up my trash today?
Right.
Is it okay if I trim my trees?
Yeah.
What should I do with my dog? It is white glove concierge service.
Right.
People that are asked, can I park in the city garage yet? And so we have English, Spanish, city employees. They sleep over during storm. We did it last year, and it was an amazing level of service. And we had people from out of town. I'm worried about my mom, and I'm in Chicago. Can somebody check on her post-storm? And so the fire department would do good and welfare. They're in the neighborhood. They're being visible. This is a post-storm scenario. And so that in itself was really, really helpful for people, particularly those that were afraid.
Right. This is great.
Thank you. But that's what we have. I don't know if you have any more questions.
Can we see the video?
Yeah.
So we only have one member. We decided we'd go ahead, we'd have the presentation, and the other members can watch the video to catch up. I'm glad CGTV is working on how to get that.
Want me to take this down?
No.
No, we'll send a link to that. Okay.
Don't make your transcript long or something.
You know.
Summer is here in South Florida, and while that usually means fun in the sun for many, the warm weather also brings the start of hurricane season. From June 1st until November 30th, it's crucial for residents to stay calm, make a plan, and be prepared to weather the storm. A hurricane in the Atlantic Ocean typically begins life as a tropical disturbance, defined as an organized thunderstorm activity that stretches at least 100 miles and maintains its identity for more than 24 hours. Under the right conditions, a tropical disturbance can start to spin around a low-pressure center, eventually becoming a tropical depression. Tropical storms can intensify quickly if they pass over a region of especially warm water and don't face much wind shear. As that happens, the pressure in the center drops even further and the winds pick up, forming what is commonly known as the eye. Once the tropical storm reaches sustained winds of 74 miles per hour, a hurricane is born. Hurricanes are measured on the Saffir-Simpson Hurricane Wind Scale, which runs from Category 1 up to Category 5. In a Category 1 hurricane, winds range from 74 to 95 miles per hour, which means residents should be cautious of falling debris that can cause injury or damage homes, cars, and other valuables. In a Category 2 hurricane, winds range from 96 to 110 miles per hour. The risk of injury or damage due to flying debris increases, leaving many trees uprooted and causing possible power loss. In a Category 3 hurricane, winds range from 111 to 129 miles per hour. There is a high risk of injury or death, and major damage can be expected. Roadblocks can become an issue, as well as loss of electricity. In a Category 4 hurricane, winds range from 130 to 156 miles per hour. At these speeds, flying debris poses a very high risk of injury or death and can heavily damage homes and buildings. Power outages and water shortages are common after a storm of this level, possibly lasting for weeks or even months. In a Category 5 hurricane, winds are 157 miles per hour or higher and is currently the highest category on the scale. A storm of this magnitude brings mass destruction and endangers the lives of those within it. But no matter the category, a hurricane can always pose a threat. And according to Dr. Brian House from the University of Miami's Rosenstiel School for Marine and Atmospheric Science, one storm condition poses more danger than the rest.
The biggest threat to life in a hurricane is the flooding from a storm surge. And we saw during Irma that there were some pretty alarming forecasts of storm surge. And so it's really important to understand that the details of that are really hard to forecast. So you have to play it safe when you have these types of potential for extreme storm surges.
Please note that evacuations may be advised for any category depending on where you live and the conditions brought by the storm. So how can you prepare for a hurricane coming your way? Fill up your vehicle's gas tank to avoid long lines at the pump, and if you have extra gas containers, store them in a safe area. Anticipate the loss of power. Turn your freezer and refrigerator to their coldest setting, about 6 hours before the storm hits to keep your food from spoiling. Freeze ice packs and prepare coolers to store food and keep fresh for a longer time. Know your storm surge and evacuation zones and make plans in advance in case you have to evacuate from your home. If you need evacuation assistance and sheltering or would like to receive a wellness call after a disaster, you must register in advance to Miami-Dade County's Emergency and Evacuation Assistance Program. Call 311 and do not wait until an evacuation order is issued. Sign up in advance to receive the city's free emergency notifications, including Facebook at facebook.com/City of Coral Gables, Twitter at City Coral Gables, YouTube at YouTube/Coral Gables TV, e-news at www.coralgables.com, Intelligent app on your mobile devices, or Code Red at www.coralgables.com/public safety. For daily updates, tune into WLRN 91.3 or call 305-800-NEWS. Once a hurricane warning is issued, secure your home with hurricane shutters. Any objects in your yard that hurricane winds can blow out should be tied down or brought indoors. Do not place any material out on the curbside or swale. Seek shelter with a friend or relative if you live in a mandatory evacuation zone. As a last resort, find an available public shelter near you. During the storm, you should stay indoors and away from windows. If you lose power, use your battery-operated radio to listen to the city's emergency notifications. Stay calm and be patient. The city's EOC will be monitoring the passing of the storm and will prioritize any calls for emergencies. After the storm has passed, remember to unplug appliances such as stoves and ovens when the power goes out to avoid accidental fires. Candles are not a safe alternative for lighting. Use flashlights or battery-powered lanterns instead. Generators are a dangerous source of carbon monoxide. Never use a generator inside a home or garage, even if doors and windows are open. Avoid standing water and down power lines.
But most importantly, help us help you. If a storm hits our area, the city's top priority will be the collection of household garbage and hurricane debris removal. Other services such as recycling or bulk trash pickup may be suspended during the initial weeks of the storm recovery.
To assist in the cleanup efforts, do not place household garbage out until 6 p.m. the night before your collection day. Secure garbage in plastic bags or garbage bins and make it accessible and visible from the street. This is extremely important. Keep household garbage separate from tree debris and other vegetative material. If you don't, this will result in delayed service or no pickup. Do not include broken furniture, discards, or household refuse in vegetation piles. Do not place any debris material in the vicinity of the storm drains to prevent any flooding caused by the rains. Do not place debris piles in a manner that blocks the travel lanes of the road or the sidewalk. If your landscape service is assisting in cutting and clearing your property of limbs and branches, they must be cut from 4 to 6 feet so that they can be picked up by our collection equipment.
Once the storm has passed, help your neighbors in need. During this time of potential and unexpected dangers, we want to make sure everyone is safe, especially the most vulnerable population.
Being without power or food for many days can hit older residents, especially ones with disabilities, particularly hard. Reach out to your elderly neighbors and check up on their welfare and confirm that they have basic necessities to survive. Ensure that they are not suffering from heat exhaustion. Share the same concern if your neighbor has chronic illness or disability. Let us know immediately if they need assistance by calling 305-442-1600 for non-emergencies or 911 for emergencies.
We hope this presentation was useful in assisting all residents with their hurricane preparations. As a quick reminder, residents should always discuss emergency plans with loved ones ahead of time, and all disaster kits and emergency supplies should be stocked by June 1st. For a list of frequently asked questions on how to prepare for a hurricane, visit our website at www.coralgables.com. For Coral Gables Television, I'm Shakira Millette, and thank you for watching.
There you go.
Very informational. So what is what's Code Red? What's that program?
Code Red is a system that police and fire has where you would register your phone, and if you want to get this, the city will push out notifications on your phone, on your landline, on your phone, whatever number you want to register. So
It's reverse 911, only to be utilized for emergencies. It's not for hurricane awareness.
Right.
Only for emergencies.
Tornado in the area or something like that.
Right.
Okay.
Another piece that Maria Rosa had also envisioned was June being hurricane start, our Miami Herald ad being themed with those numbers and what to do. We have once a week we buy a neighbor's full page. And so June, and then wait, and not do it in July, and then do it again in August, and do it again in September.
Thank you.
I have to say, this is the first time I'm seeing that.
Yes.
It's excellent. It's a great
it's part of the press. Everything that I'm sharing is part of the press, and you're getting the VIP tour. You're in the drive.
Great job. Congratulations.
Excellent.
Yeah,
A lot of information packed into that. One video.
we could have done an hour video, but we just pushed the more important things.
And the first meeting in June, let's show that to the commission, and let's have a presentation on communication for hurricane readiness. I think that's
Yes, to me personally, though, to just seeing the EOC and seeing all of the city staff sitting there gives a resident a bit of confidence that they're being taken care of.
They did Facebook Live And I thought that was really interesting. During storm, lockdown, and they were pushing out the Facebook Live so that you were seeing that your city is working and responding. So, yeah.
So our campaign this year is Gable Strong, but to be strong in a hurricane, first you have to be ready. So that's sort of our push up to the residents, that they have to take responsibility, to be ready, to be strong.
Cool. Thank you.
Any other questions regarding communication?
I don't.
So some of the topics, Celeste, I would say, some of the topics you may wish to postpone for a future meeting, but communication, since I've gotten some good feedback from Tom before joining the Blue Ribbon, it was appropriate to have this briefing. You were more than ready to do it.
Thank you.
Anything else on this this customized meeting that you'd like to get?
Yes, or I hate to hold everybody up here just for me, so it's probably better to have at least a quorum to get maybe additional information. That's my thoughts. I would love to, and I think other members would appreciate hearing this too, but where we're at with FPL, with litigation, when can we have a discussion here?
Well, I can give you a little update. We survived a motion to dismiss on one claim, which was our sort of contract claim related to the franchise agreement. And really importantly, and I think this was mentioned at the commission meeting in the end of March, or in the end of April, FPL admitted that they have responsibility for clearing the vegetation around the lines. It's in the judge's order, dismissing the motion to dismiss, denying the motion to dismiss. So we have a really great statement from FPL on the record stating that they are in charge of that. Next step is mediation. We have a court-ordered mediation scheduled by mid-June. So we'll be meeting with them.
So in under their obligation to clear the lines, are they prohibited at all because of any ordinances in the city of Coral Gables, or can they just go in and clear? Their franchise agreement.
In fact, we have a code provision related to residents being required to allow clearing of those lines.
Okay.
So as far as the lawsuit goes, that's our next step, is the mediation, and like I said, that has to happen by mid-June. So should there be settlement then, we'll be able to update you then, and if not, we'll let you know next steps.
Is any part of the litigation have to do with FPL's communication and interaction with the city through the course of this year?
Not explicitly in the lawsuit. It has to do with our franchise agreement, but that's always something we always have ongoing discussions with FPL about, especially as we're gearing up for storm season.
So tell me if this is a fair question or if this is something that I can't get into. But my understanding is there are a few other municipalities within Dade County who had dedicated FPL crews available for clearing lines out of downed trees. And my understanding, the city of Coral Gables didn't have that.
Well, since we're still in the dance of mediation,
Right.
Probably better that
We'll hold off on those conversations.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
I will note there was also a class action filed, which survived a motion to not certify the class, so they're allowed to continue with that lawsuit as well.
Okay.
So there's a separate class action going on as well.
Good. Thank you.
Any other business you would like?
No, I think I'm good. But I still would like to, I think it's time for us to start putting some recommendations on paper. So if we could, I don't know whether that's a separate working session or what, but I do think it's time for us to start putting some things to paper.
I think you discussed that the last time, so since we don't have a full committee this time,
it's hard to.
once I gather everyone up together again, then you can make a decision on how you would like for that process to move forward. I envision that you're probably thinking more of this type of setting too.
I'm thinking whiteboards and brainstorming, honestly. But I don't know what my colleagues' thoughts are on that, obviously. And if we have a hard time getting the band together, so to speak, then maybe we could circulate those via email if that's appropriate.
Okay. So we'll table that to our next meeting so that the committee can make a decision as a whole on how to proceed with sort of finalizing and wrapping up your recommendations and start that whole process. I want to thank everyone for their attendance. I apologize for not having a full house today. That of course was not our intentions, but in light of the fact that we only do have one member, I thank everyone for at least presenting the information that they do have, and so we will table everything that we were.
I think I'm honored you guys all sat here for me.
We're table. Yes, sir.
We are picking up the last, yesterday we took the last debris out of the canal. There were 2 piles. They picked up 1 pile this morning, and as soon as they dump that, they'll be back to pick up the last pile, and that should end the debris collection, vegetative debris collection for the hurricane
Well,
cleanup.
congratulations.
So,
You're asking where were those 2 piles?
They just pulled them out yesterday. They were trees that were submerged in the canals that we had to bring in dive teams to lift and cut up and then tow to the shore.
So these are trees that fell from private property into the canal, I presume?
The last ones that we did yesterday were private trees into the right of way. There was one down by Solano Prado, a Matson hammock. We have no idea where it came from.
Do we have any kind of a program to clear trees out of the public right of way? Do we do anything with potentially dangerous trees that are in the waterway or adjacent to the banks or anything like that?
We have one maintenance person. We have our waterways maintenance folks, and we're looking at taking a closer look at that because we need to address those kinds of things. Usually, it's reported to us by boaters when there's an obstruction of the waterway.
Yeah.
It's a responsibility of the private property owners to maintain it, but a lot of times they don't. So we're looking at that to see how to best.
So, and as the physical waterway itself, we're in the process of creating a maintenance, assigning a maintenance person, wrong title, to the water, and being able to proactively address issues. Not the private property, but the waterway itself.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
Well, if no other comments, then we will adjourn.
Thank you.
It's 9:41, so thank you.
Sir, can I
We'll
have
do
your
this
name?
again
Your name?
next time.
I'll check around here.
You'll be.
Your name?
Not you.